Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight, so boys, let's get it started. We start with the Boston Celtics, 18-17 with one more game before the All-Star break, and the Professor said that we'll review before the All-Star break or somewhere near that. If they're 500, he can live with that. Well, they're in the fourth spot in the Eastern Conference. So, Professor, can you live with that?
Yeah, it's been a little rocky getting there, right? Those losses to Dallas and New Orleans and Atlanta were horrible. It made us feel really pretty low about the team, understandably so. But look, they've just come back. They've just won 3 straight. They play Toronto tomorrow night. And if they win 4 straight going into the break, I think we'll be like, at least it's stabilized.
Yeah. Timmy, Kemba Walker, that was the key, right? You were talking about in the last few weeks. What are we going to get for a guy in a max contract? All of a sudden, especially last night, they don't win that game without Kemba Walker. He is the third offensive option, and they're going to be nice that Brown and Tatum don't have it. That was last night, but Kemba had it. They won.
We were hoping to have this Kemba Walker every night. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a possibility with his knee. But this is the Kemba Walker we expected. This is the Kemba Walker we're going to need if we're going to go anywhere.
We saw that last year too, Timmy.
Yeah.
Joe, look, Jason Tatum's got to be the star of the team. He's still not consistent enough to be the star of the team every game. That's what we're seeing. There's still hit and misses, but he's 23. The progression of Jason Tatum this year, are you impressed by it?
Yeah, he's continued his progression. He's continued to improve. He's willing to take the team on his back in a few situations, but for the most part, he shies away from that on-court leadership role. When he gets the ball, it's either him or he just throws it back out.
When was the last time you said, "Oh wow, look at that pass by Jason Tatum"?
Yeah.
Well, but hang on, let me say one thing, because I know that I feel the same way. But his assists are up this year.
But you know what? I was thinking about Larry Bird last night. Do you remember? You'd just be like, "Wow, what a pass!" Or the great players. Jason Tatum, he's become a one kind of dimensional. It's him and who's defending him.
Hang on, let me. But one thing, Jason Tatum was what, 21 years old? 20 like Larry Bird came into the NBA when he was 24 years old.
But he came in passing.
I understand that, but he was 3 years older. He played 4 years in college.
How old is Tatum?
21, 22 tops.
I don't know. He needs to get a passing repertoire in his arsenal.
Yeah, give him time. Bird made everyone better around him, and Jason Tatum probably will in time.
But that's going to go with coaching.
Grow his game.
That's going to be with coaching too. Jason Tatum is still trying to fight through double teams. He's still battling with 2 guys for the ball, and that needs to stop. And Brad Stevens.
You're right, Scotty. Like the progression that Tatum needs to make, and he's made a little bit this year, is they're blitzing him now. They're doubling him, and he is starting to be more aware. He's trying to get through those double teams. He's trying to pass through it. But Tim, to your point, he drives me freaking crazy sometimes, because in the fourth quarter of a game, Aaron Nesmith or Jaylen Brown will be wide open in the corner, wide open.
I don't know if it was the end of the half and end of a quarter last night where he had the ball with about 8 or 9 seconds to go, and he ended up taking, I think it was 100-foot 3-point attempt with the guy in his face.
That's his MO. That's what he does, Timmy.
Yeah.
That's what he's been doing now for a couple of years. All right, got to see Brandon Beal again with the Wizards. And that guy is a special player. Jaylen Brown is a very nice player. Jaylen Brown is not Brandon Beal. He's not anywhere close to that. Would you guys trade him? Brown.
Well, I would not trade him for Brandon Beal, because I don't know who Brandon Beal is, but Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal. You understood who the hell.
It must be Brandon's brother.
Oh, really? Did I confuse you with another guy in the Wizards who scores 40 points against the Celtics?
Timmy, would you trade Brown for Bradley Beal?
I'm just saying Beal from now on. I'm not saying it.
I
know your first name or your last name. That's the name I'm going with.
Are they? Who's the better player right now? Who has more upside?
Beal's a better player.
Yeah. Oh, he's a better scorer. He's a better scorer. Yeah,
I'm with Tim. I think, Beal is a better scorer. He's smaller. He doesn't defend nearly as well. He's older. And the most valuable commodity in the NBA are basically Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They are long wings who can defend, shoot, and basically score at all three levels. We have two of the guys that are by far the most valuable types in the NBA.
They have upside and are young and have room to grow.
So
my answer is no.
You would not trade Brandon Beal.
Not if I'm trying to build a championship team, and I'm looking at the next 5 to 7 years. I would not know.
Beals would be a good last piece to make.
Last piece. Better be. You got it.
I wouldn't do it.
Look at Scotty just shaking.
My God,
I wouldn't do it.
Scotty should trade anyone for anyone.
Hey, there's a trade I want to talk about. There's a trade I want to talk about when we start talking about the Bruins. So.
All right. Okay. All right.
I don't care.
This just in from the Grandstanders Live. Just unfortunately, Romeo Langford has had his wrist amputated. Finally, after many months of rehab. I forgot that Danny Ainge drafted Langford as a replacement for Jaylen Brown if he skipped out of town for free agency. I had forgotten that because I had forgotten Romeo Langford existed. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to depend on this guy as someone who can come in and help them in the second half?
No, they can't depend on him. What evidence that he's given you that you could depend on him? You may get something out of him, but you can't depend on him.
Yeah, but Joe, is Danny depending on Langford as he said he was last year?
Well, it seems like he's gonna because he's not gonna make a move. He's like a rock of granite. He does not move.
I'll tell you, if Danny doesn't make a move, there's going to be shades of 1775 tar and feathering going on down the north end. Right now.
You're not going to see a big move. You're not going to see it. Absolutely positive.
There better be because they got a little something going on over there, I think. Rob Williams is starting. I don't want to jump the gun here, but Rob's starting to show signs of life, and we got two pretty good players. And if Walker can keep this going, and we'll get Marcus Smart back,
Marcus, who? I have to be honest with you. He's been gone so long.
Hey, Scotty, noticeably absent. Noticeably absent, I would say.
Well, not the last few games. I have to be honest with you. Offensively, I don't notice him, but defensively, obviously, they could use him big time.
Yeah, the only spot they get now of Smart's kind of caliber is Williams and Pritchard are the only ones who bring a little pizzazz into the lineup.
Well, the other thing that Smart brings is, I was thinking about this today, in terms of guys who can really handle the ball, handle the ball, create a shot for themselves or somebody else. You've got
hopefully somebody else.
you've got the two Jays who are getting better at it, and you've got Pritchard and Walker, and that's it right now. You need Smart because he can actually handle the ball. He can create a play for somebody. It's a big problem in this team.
Thompson has started to look good. Started to look like the guy that we thought he was going to be.
I don't know about that. I don't necessarily agree with that, Scotty.
I've even seen some life from Jeff Teague.
Yeah, well, absolutely. All right, we got to address Timmy. You don't think Thompson hasn't? He's pretty much better.
Thompson is. If I had to split the league in half, I'd put him in the bottom half of the league.
As for centers?
For center, I mean, who does he beat out for? What's the difference between when he's in the game and Rob Williams is in the game?
I'll tell you what the difference is. Last night they didn't drive the lane once when Thompson was in there. But when Williams was in there, they were running at him right and left.
You think they were going at Rob Williams?
The only two times Paul George drove the lane was on once on Tice, but Williams was in the game at the time, and the other time was on Tatum with Williams in the game. The only times they were driving to the hoop was when Rob was in there.
So you think that they were more afraid of?
No, they're not afraid of him. They're just going to shoot from the perimeter when Thompson's in there.
Yeah, Thompson's an experienced guy, Russ. I mean, Rob is still learning how to play defense in the NBA.
Well, a couple things. Look, I think that Thompson and Tice give you, roughly, basically replacement level center play. I mean, they're just right average. I think they're in this day and age, they're average centers. Williams he's not as reliable. He makes mistakes. However, I do think we now know who our center of the future is, and his name is Rob Williams, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's to me, that's the coolest thing that's happened in a year of ups and downs and sideways is that you can take a look. If you squint at Williams, you can see he's a starting center for the next 5 years.
I'll just tell you this. Me and my son Colin were watching the game last night, and we were both gushing about Williams the whole second. We're like throwing high fives at each other watching that kid play. That pump fake block that he made there on the guy, his arms are so freaking long that the guy pump faked, and then his arms are so long he got him on the way up.
He seems to be a unique player in the NBA right now. There's not a lot of guys who are blocking shots 20, 25 minutes a game. So these guys haven't seen him, and they don't want any part of him driving to the basket.
I don't want to talk too much here, but I've noticed his intensity level has risen dramatically. I think a big fall for Rob is he kind of like pick his spots when he'd turn it on before. Last night, his motor was going that whole game, in my estimation.
Joe, I got a question for you. You've seen a lot of Celtics teams over the years. Have the Celtics had any player that reminds you of Rob Williams or that Rob Williams reminds you of in their history? No, right?
That I can think of. But he has made himself the ultimate trade chip. That's
he has.
I feel.
You're right.
He made himself a young guy, not making a lot of money, that might add some pizzazz to a young core going forward.
Wow, you'd have to get a lot for Rob Williams.
No.
Well, and then you'd probably be kicking yourself in the butt 5 years from now.
But any big deal that Danny would be to make that would put them at the championship level,
Joe, it makes a very interesting point because Langford's not even on the radar. Neesmith is a nice little piece. Pritchard's a nice little piece. If a team is looking for a young player with upside, who's that guy in the Celtics? His name is Rob Williams.
And maybe you can convince the Wizards to give you Brandon Beal without Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. I said without him.
I think he might be able to.
I mean, you would. Yeah, I mean, look, I think you'd have to basically put Williams, Smart, Langford maybe, and Neesmith, and then about 3 or 4 first-round picks, literally.
Right.
Really?
No, all of a sudden, then you have 4 top players, and the Nets have 3 top players, and we win.
When our top players aren't at the level of their top players.
No, you are totally right.
That's why we have 4 of them.
Durant are better than all 4.
I agree.
But we also have Shemi. Come on, that puts us over the top.
We got to bring back
Hank
Finkel. That's what I was thinking.
Hi, Henry.
Before we leave the Celtics, I have to say, Shemi was so terrible last night. It was incomprehensible how terrible he was. But he's going to be left open. If he's on that court 2 minutes at the end of the game, he's going to be left open.
He has shot the ball well this year. I mean, the one thing he's done is he shot the ball well. His defense has taken a big step back. He doesn't seem like he has any foot speed left.
Are you surprised when his threes go in? I'm genuinely surprised when his threes go in.
Not anymore. No,
I know, not anymore. But
I think his 3 points, that corner 3, he's got that down pat.
And they leave him open.
Any minutes he plays in the playoffs for the Boston Celtics are bad minutes. That's not what we want in a championship caliber team. All right, boys, we go to the Patriots. J.J. Watt goes to Arizona. You guys shocked by that? It seemed on a short-term contract that the Patriots may have wanted to be players in that.
That to me had a lifestyle play written all over. He gets to go to the desert, make some money, play for a hip young coach who's going to let him take a day off whenever he wants.
Yeah.
The Patriots are never going to compete with Arizona for that.
He's seen better days, and I don't think he'll ever be at the level he was, say,
He'll be back on the IR halfway through the season next year.
Yeah.
Kyle Van Noy gets cut by a surprise.
He'll be back. Yeah, he'll be back.
I'll put the welcome mat out for Kyle.
He'll be back. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so, right? Look like he's paid some good money.
He has a way of shooting himself out of town, though, doesn't he? Once he gets shipped out, he kind of blabs a little bit about it.
He didn't say anything too bad about the Patriots.
No, I picked up somewhere that he had said a few things, but maybe
nothing bad.
No.
Yeah. What was that, Joe?
Jamie Collins thing.
No, I can't recall him saying anything. Yeah, Jamie Collins always shut his mouth off.
Yeah, but this feels like that, coming back to the Patriots after getting paid. Even Chung got paid by the Eagles, too, and then he came back to the Patriots. Hopefully,
Joe, he still hasn't officially been cut, has he?
Yes.
Yeah, has he officially been cut? Okay,
Yes.
so the Patriots can sign him tomorrow for whatever they want. Yeah, okay.
They didn't want to wait until that that March 1st date was because you probably would do a roster bonus if you're still on the roster at certain dates.
It was a $51 million contract the Dolphins give him. I think like $30+ million was guaranteed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They must have really not liked him to get rid of him.
That was kind of bizarre. I don't understand.
I think they think he can't play anymore with that hip. Will preclude him from.
Maybe they're right. I mean, I have respect for that coach down there, and
yeah, absolutely.
Flores must know, or else he wouldn't come.
If they see something to get a guy like that, the leadership that he brought and every other thing that he brought, that I thought he was part of the rebuilding process.
Yeah, we've all seen those hips are tough. They
That's
come
tough.
back from them.
I can vouch for that.
There was so much smoke last offseason about Stidham and how he was going to be the starting quarterback, and all of that was bullshit. Now we're getting this week that Bill Belichick, he was in love with Cam Newton, but now it's like another level of love between those two. I don't know how that happened because it sure wasn't his play on the field. Are we to buy any semblance that Cam Newton is coming back to the Patriots?
Nah, it's like musical chairs. If at the end Cam Newton's the only one left, then they'll take him.
Right, they take him as a backup. They sign him for the minimum. He also just might be doing Cam a favor by building him up and saying, "Yeah, we love Cam." I think he did love Cam, but he's probably just doing him a solid.
Cam's a likable guy. I mean, very
I
likable.
love him as a player coach.
I'd hang out with the guy any day. He just can't freaking throw the football.
So, the surprise this week, all the Patriots who opted out made the decision that they're going to come back to the Patriots, including Marcus Cannon, which everybody had that he was retiring.
A lot of money involved in that, Scotty. How else is Marcus Cannon going to make $8 million next year?
There's a couple less zeros in their checking account right now.
Yeah.
I'd say at least 6 of those 8 won't be on the roster.
No, they get so used to that money spigot pouring money, and then all of a sudden that thing gets shut off, and
Yeah, the wife.
you get a dope slap real quick about the finances of life.
Yeah, when they ask what that costs at Chipotle, then they know it's.
What is the guac extra?
Yeah. But I would say that there. I think Hightower may come back. I think Cannon may come back, but it's going to be at reduced prices.
Of course.
I don't know. Hightower, I think Hightower they'll take him back into that same contract, I would assume. I mean, they could renegotiate it a little bit, but
it's like $9-10 million.
they got a ton of cap space. Cap space isn't their issue right now. If they get tighter on cap space because they sign, they bring in Jimmy G or sign somebody else, they may want to do it. But Scotty blushes whenever you say
Jimmy G and give him Cam.
Whenever you say Jimmy G, Scotty blushes. Adrian's like, how come you blush every time?
And then if you say, with a little stubble on his face, Jimmy G, he gets even more excited.
Yes.
There's only 20 minutes in the show I can't believe it. We haven't mentioned them yet. All right, we go to the Boston Red Sox, and look, we're 2-2 in the spring training. That probably gets you into the playoffs with the new format. Looks like the Red Sox are going to have a good offense. Looks like they have some good young guys, and we really should start talking about the Bobby Dahlbecks of the world. Some of these guys are going to be fun to watch.
2 home runs yesterday. He had a couple the day before.
Yeah, 2 yet today.
Yeah. 2 homers?
Yeah.
Staubach's going to be fun to watch. A guy during the course of the season, Duran's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
You know,
The pitching that has me super concerned. I just have no faith in the staff that they are going to.
Well,
at all.
you know, let's not forget Devers, right? You know, it looks like he's in better shape. He's such a fun player to watch. You know, I'm like you, Scotty. I'm now looking at some of these younger guys and saying, look, we might not be a great team because, to Tim's point, the pitching may not be there, but it could be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, would you take any left side of an infield other than Xander Bogaerts and Devers in baseball?
Probably not.
Right? I mean, that's a pretty good core just in itself. Evil Alex Cora this week said, I'm going to think of I can think of other names.
Evil. Does he have to stand in the dugout like this?
Yeah, right. He spoke highly of Jeter Downs and Wong, the two other guys other than Verdugo that they got for the Betts deal. Lots of buzz about Jeter Downs already. Boys,
the other day too.
That deal may end up a wash, a push.
Oh, well, maybe. I don't know about that, but even if it ends up that way, look, Scott, if we get 65 cents on the dollar, that's a huge win, relatively speaking, right?
Yeah, no,
because he wouldn't have signed with us anyways.
No, that much is clear.
He was going to sign with the Dodgers even if he had stayed with the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's right.
They were going to be the only ones paying. You got Verdugo, and look, obviously the four of us did not watch many Red Sox games last year, so we didn't watch Verdugo. But from what I heard from people who did watch the games, this guy's a hell of a player, lots of fun to watch. Let's see how this guy develops. If all of a sudden a Jeter Downs or a Wong becomes a damn good player, then you did pretty well in this deal.
Yeah.
Could maybe Jeter Downs be a second baseman down the way?
Scotty, going back.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Going back to you just mentioned, you talked to somebody who watched the game. I don't know anyone who watched the game last year.
It was tough to watch.
It was rough.
The ratings must be crippled right now.
Well, I just want to say, and I remember a year or two ago I talked about each week new rules for Major League Baseball. It's happening, boys. There's no question. Major League Baseball within the next 3 to 5 years will be going to 7 innings. They're doing that.
Oh God, I've been saying that too. That is the most obvious. It's radical, but it's the most obvious move. Those games be over in 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2 hours, within 2.5 hours again. Why not?
Does that affect the contracts though? Because all of a sudden there's a lot less ad time to sell.
Probably. Everyone's probably have to take a little bit of a haircut.
Yeah, a little bit. Also, they can squeeze in an extra commercial. There may be more time in between innings, just a teeny bit more time. You don't want to do too much, but it's going to 7 innings. I mean, they know it has to be done, and that is going to be dramatic. Because also, it's going to change. We love baseball records. It's going to affect the validity.
Look, I think it would. I think it would. Right, but the records have been. Look, if this was 1989, would I be saying this? And I'd probably be, no, those records are sacrosanct, and how could you do this? That whole steroid era obliterated all the most important records anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Russell, that's the best argument for
that. Who cares about the records anymore? The records are meaningless. Barry friggin' Bonds is the all-time home run leader. Yeah. Please.
No, that's a great point, Russ. I really do think Barry Bonds ruined it for all baseball records. Hank Aaron died within the last month or two, and for guys our age, even though Hank Aaron never played for the Red Sox, he meant a hell of a lot to us growing up. He was a superstar to us sitting there in Boston.
He sure was.
And that record meant a hell of a lot, those 755 home runs. And
sure did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's sad, too, because that's what used to be a big-time discussion about Major League Baseball was about the records, and that was a big part.
And it's easy that you just say before the change and after the change. So they make the change in 2023. There are records before 2023, and they'll play baseball for another 100 years, and there'll be a whole bunch of records after 2023.
They still say in the modern era, or they make the decision.
Right.
They have to.
54 versus 162.
They have to change something.
Look, I still play softball, and I play 7 innings of softball, and it's plenty. Like in terms of a game, like there's a beginning and there's a middle, there's an end. There's enough time. If you fall behind early, you can still make it up. You could argue the 8th and 9th innings at this point in time are just like, it's sort of useless. What are you doing?
But they're useless because there's not many lead changes anymore.
No.
I mean, it's about I think it's over 90% of the team leading after the 7th inning wins the major league game that night.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And that would be a huge move for Manfred, that all of a sudden we'd start to take notice of him as a commissioner.
Well,
he's been a complete fail.
You would hope that the game becomes more urgent. It's more urgent to get out ahead, play much more aggressive baseball, take an extra base. You would bring just urgency to the whole operation at that point in time.
And you wouldn't see shitty relievers in the 6th and 7th inning like you do now. Just guys whose
quality would go up. Yep. Quality of pitching goes way up.
Yep.
Yep.
That's right.
That would be finally the time that Matt Barnes could never throw another pitch in the Major League Baseball. I can be happy. I hate him so much. All right.
You can't go without. You have to.
Scotty's always hating someone.
Scotty, I got one for you. So you're walking down the street, and Matt Barnes and Daniel Nava are on fire, and you have one bucket of water. Who are you putting out?
I find the nearest dog pissing on a bush and give it to him.
All right.
Bruins. All right, Timmy,
Timmy's got a trade.
What do you got, Timmy?
Not Jack.
Charlie McAvoy for Jack Eichel.
No.
Ooh, Timmy, this is like when I did this to you a few years ago when I said Bergeron for Subban, and I made you stopped in your tracks. You're like, wait, what?
I know.
How's Subban?
When Eichel has the puck, everything just freezes around him. I mean, the guy's a dominant.
I would do that. I would do
that in a heartbeat. And I mean,
it's $10 million a year, and they're hard capped, and he's contracted.
It's what?
6 years. You're under contract to him, guaranteed $10 million a year, and you're under a hard cap. You might have to get rid of a couple more players.
I don't know. That kid's a special player, man.
I'd take him.
I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Special player.
But the puck just stays on his stick. He's big. He's strong. He can shoot the puck. He's, I won't say he's a generational player, but he's up there. He's a special player.
They want Pasta instead. They want to
see, Pasta's a 1 in a million. Those guys that can score goals, man, they're like a nugget of gold you find in a mountain. Those guys that just get on the score sheet every night. You never get rid of those guys.
All right, well, let's add DeBrusque because I think he's a stiff, and I don't think he'll become anything.
Yeah. I mean,
both of them can't score. They can't finish.
Yeah, we had great hopes for DeBrusque in the last couple of years and stuff.
Too streaky. I mean, he'll go 10 games. He won't do anything, and then he'll score 3 goals in a blowout. And you're like, oh, great. He's got 24 goals again.
Coyle got on the board the other night. That was
he's
Coyle's out. He's got COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I know, yeah.
That's too bad.
And I don't care if it's an empty net goal, it's a goal. And those kind of things can get you out of your shell and get the ball.
Yeah, 2 goals, right?
Yeah, well, one of them was an empty netter, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take it. Doesn't matter.
Short-handed, too, so it was a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Bruce Cassidy, when the team was going poorly last week, he's not afraid to call the kettle black. And I really like that in Bruce Cassidy, and I think that he just continues to develop as a coach. And
isn't it a completely different sport, man? That guy is in complete control of that locker room. I mean, you're screwing up where you sit. You are down.
Yeah.
I mean,
although the thing that he has that Brad Stevens does not have is, but he's got Bergeron and Marchand and Krejci and Tuca in that locker room to also help him keep everyone straight.
10, 15-year veterans.
Well, we have Marcus Smart on the Celtics.
But that's the problem with Marcus Smart is because we don't know who they listen to, Marcus Smart or Brad Stevens. I mean, a few games ago, when one of those games that went really bad, I think the Atlanta game, Marcus Smart got the
Scotty. Let's just say one thing that we can take away from this conversation. You do not have a leg to stand on anymore with Marcus Smart. This team is not the same team. Take a look at their record with him and without him this year.
I said, yeah, I'm not. All I said was he has great value and they need to trade him.
So you think
when you trade Smart, you're going to get something in return too.
That's exactly.
Just giving him away.
Scott, you just insinuated that Brad Stevens and Marcus Smart aren't on the same page.
Marcus Smart has more power, cachet, whatever you want to say it, with the players than Brad.
Okay, so you don't think that Marcus is the kind of guy where Brad can go and say, hey, can you go talk to Joe? Can you go talk to Bill and have a chat with them about doing this or doing that? You don't think he's that
I think yes. No, I think you can. He's the ghost whisperer. Absolutely. Yeah. I also think that Marcus Smart initiates ideas that come out of his head. He voices them to the team without sharing that with Brad Stevens, and Brad Stevens stays quiet.
Well, I think you need about 50-50 with that, I mean, naturally coming from the guy, it can't all be via Brad Stevens. Marcus Smart has to have some of his own original stuff in there.
Okay, I've said this before, and I want to know if you guys agree with me. The best player in each NBA team is the leader of the team.
No.
In the NBA.
Not always.
Oh, traditionally.
I think, Scotty, I think you're right. I mean, I think that's by the way, that's what it's ideal, and I think it's also true way more often than not.
Oh, yeah. More often than not, but I don't think always. I think
not every single time.
I think Marcus Smart's the spiritual leader of this team, even though Tatum's the best player.
Look, Celtics have won 17 championships. Name one championship they won that the best player on the team wasn't the leader.
Was Dave Cowens? Wait. Was Dave Cowens better than Havlicek?
No.
Well, Havlicek was the leader of those two winning teams in the 70s.
Right, absolutely.
But Cowens was a better player.
You think?
Oh no, Havlicek.
I don't know. I don't know. He was right there.
End of the road at that point.
Cowens was Marcus Smart to Havlicek's team.
No, Timmy, you're right. I mean, what did Havlicek retire in 78? So he would have been 76. I would probably agree with you.
He was winding down. I mean, I think Cowens was the best player in the Celtics in 76. Wouldn't you say?
Wow.
He was a grinder. He was a very good role player.
Well, Joe would know better. I was only 10 years old, so
no.
What do I know?
It was Marcus Smart Havlicek's Tatum.
Yeah, but look, you look at John Havlicek's statistics and just look at him once in a while. It's pretty remarkable what an extraordinary player he was. The numbers he put up each year, just off.
He played 5 different positions over the course of his career too. They had him playing something different every 5 years. They would switch him to something else.
He was when you say the word thoroughbred, you think of John Havlicek.
All right, so Russ, you think that that the best player usually is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I think more so it's the coach and the best player usually joined at the hip. If they're not, then you've got a problem.
Scott, I agree with you about 95% of the time, but not 100% of the time.
Yeah. All right, well, boys, we'll agree to disagree. It was a great show tonight. I want to thank Corbin behind the scenes. I want to thank the fellas. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com. And hey, tune in next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.